I even remember to record this today. What we're going to do is go fairly quickly through chapter 4 and get into chapter 5, and now we're going to be back on schedule. A lot of the things I've covered in the last couple of lectures, we digressed from material that is in the book, but I think it was useful and you all seemed interested in it. I wanted you to see how some of the things that we talked about with sales impact your lives, your future careers, and anatomy. So were there any lingering questions over the different types of cells, cellular differentiation, teratogens, mutagens, carcinogens, or cancer? Everybody feels comfortable with that? You feel like you could give me answers to short answer essay questions on that? Maybe not. Well, in that case, you might want to do a little bit more studying before Thursday rolls around. Hint, hint. So today we're going to quickly cover metabolism. Metabolism defined as the sum total of all chemical reactions in the body. The sum total of all chemical reactions in the body. And make sure you understand that it's everything. You can split this into two branches. The first is called catabolism. Catabolism. C-A-T-A-B-O-L-I-S-M. These are sometimes called catabolic reactions. When people talk about having a fast metabolism or some such nonsense, what they're really referring to is their rate of catabolism. How fast they break things down. This is breaking apart large molecules to make smaller molecules for the purpose of acquiring energy. You're breaking apart big molecules of any kind solely for the purpose of acquiring energy. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute, probably more than you want to know. But a lot of people do not think about the second branch. It's called anabolism. Anabolism. A-N-A-B-O-L-I-S-M, or anabolic reactions. You may have heard of anabolic steroids. Those are the performance-enhancing drugs that people like Sylvester Stallone took in the 1980s to look the way he did, and probably gone a long way towards explaining why he acts the way he does. They build muscle because this is building up. You're taking small molecules and you're putting them together to make bigger molecules. We call that growth, don't we? Repair, healing. So when we're talking metabolism, most people think we mean breaking down. What we mean, though, is breaking down and building up. Am I going a little too fast? Sorry, I'm a little jacked up on caffeine this morning. My catabolic reactions are actually working in my favor. Will have to be dead. So everybody comfortable with this? Who can tell me the one form of energy that the body needs? There's only one and only one. always go to the list. Kylie, what's the only form of energy the body can use? You doing the reading? Okay. Well, I'd much rather you be honest with me. No one can help her? Everybody say, please don't call on me. Please call on me. I used to hate professors like me. Probably explains why we came. Okay. Two things to take from this. Number one, you might want to do the reading because it helps you keep up with the material. If you feel like you don't really know how to dive into a college textbook and get the material from it, that's okay. This is new to a lot of you, isn't it? If you want me to help you with it, I'll be glad to show you what I do. I don't want to go to using quizzes because this isn't high school, but I also don't want you just coming to lecture, listening, and writing down what I say, because there's more to learning than that, okay? The second thing is, the only source of energy the cell can use is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's something you should have learned in high school biology. We talked about the mitochondria, remember those?
Powerhouse of the cell.
Who said that? I heard somebody mutter powerhouse of the cell. Don't you ever say those words in my presence. That's generally how it's taught, right? But that's not what it is. The mitochondria do one thing. They make ATP. What can I use this for?
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, when I was your age, we wouldn't turn down the dime. Now it's a dollar bill and I can't throw that thing away. It says on here, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. I might have to combine it with a few things, right? But could I take my car down the road and put fuel in it? Could I stick it into the machine over here and get myself a solution of some kind of disgusting, sugary, weak acid with lots and lots of caffeine in it, aka soda? I could go and purchase groceries over at Kroger, couldn't I? See what I'm talking about? It's useful for everything. Technically, I could even use it to pay my electric bill, couldn't I? They'd probably look at me strange. Be like writing a check. I don't even know if y'all know what checks are now. Probably lucky you know what cash is. The point is, it's a universally accepted form of wealth. If I had a stack of $100 bills, I know there's not a single one of you in here that would turn this down, would you? May not be your preferred form. It may mean a trip to the bank. You may have to convert it to an electronic form. But my point stands, it's useful for everything. That's what ATP is. It's like cash. It is the universal energy source for everything in the cell. You need to make protein, boom, ATP. You need to double your DNA, boom, ATP. You need to break down an old and damaged protein, boom, ATP. If you want to move the cell, what do you need? ATP. ATP is what every single cell needs. Humans get this in two ways. The first is called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. And I'm very thankful that this is an anatomy class and not a biochemistry class, because when I taught biochem, I had to make my students know what molecules were broken down every step of the way, what enzyme catalyzed the reaction, and if it was biochem too, they even had to know the structures. Quite brutal. Y'all get the idea? That's okay. We don't have to go to that level. What I want you to understand is that to get ATP, we have to oxidize whatever it is we're breaking down. These are sometimes called redox reactions, R-E-D-O-X. A redox reaction stands for reduction on one side, oxidation on the other. Reduction and oxidation. Oxidation is the loss of electrons. The loss of electrons. Do you need me to repeat that, Jamie?
You're going too fast.
Okay, tell me to slow down. Like I say, I like this stuff.
I'm writing like 100 miles an hour.
Next time I start off, throw out the rod and reel me in, okay? What are we losing? Electrons. The entire process at the molecular level is nothing more than an exchange of electrons. They go through what's called an electron transport chain. Y'all want an example? Glucose, you've probably heard of that, right? It's the simplest sugar that we have. It's what your brain runs on. Glucose gets broken down completely until the individual carbon atoms are through. Those individual carbon atoms combine with something else. Does anybody know what it is? What's waiting at the end of the electron transport chain? Oxygen. Oxygen is probably the most common electron acceptor. So if oxidation is loss of electrons, reduction is gain of electrons. Gain of electrons. We're breaking the bonds between the atoms in glucose. We strip away the electrons. We pass those electrons through a chain, and at each step of the chain, we pull off some of the energy to make what? ATP. Everybody got that? The key there, though, is you have to have oxygen. Oxygen is what is sitting there waiting at the end of the road. If you block the flow of the electrons through the chain, or if you don't have oxygen waiting at the end of the line, will you get ATP? Generally, that means you die. Oxygen is a very odd substance when you get into it. Quite simply put, we wouldn't really have life as we know it without oxygen, right? But oxygen is also incredibly reactive. There's a property called electronegativity. Electronegativity. And what electronegativity is simply how well it attracts electrons. How well does this stuff attract electrons? have to know this, but I'll tell you so you can visualize it. If you're looking at the periodic table, as you go up and left, you are increasing the electronegativity. So anything in the upper right-hand corner there is going to be probably among the most electronegative elements there are. They want electrons. They will actively strip them from anything that's available. And if you look, oxygen is right up there in that right-hand corner. And that is why we need oxygen to survive. Is everybody clear on that? There are a couple of other elements that are a little more electronegative, but those elements are not common like oxygen is. Every breath you take is 21% oxygen. It also means, believe it or not, that the very thing that keeps you alive is the very thing that will eventually kill you. Y'all know that? Because oxygen is so reactive. Remember I said it wants electrons, doesn't it? It will actually strip the electrons from molecules in the cell, causing cellular damage over time. You ever heard of antioxidants? Most of y'all being so young, you don't have to worry about this, but as you get older, commercials on TV will tell you to drink this juice made from the pure grass of lawn clippings. It tastes like it too. It's packed full of antioxidants. Use this shampoo and nourish your hair. It has antioxidants and proteins. Which I always laugh because your hair is dead and nothing but protein. Why would you be eating that for your conditioner? It's a gimmick. But antioxidants actually do play a real role in anti-aging, because what they do is they essentially sweep up free oxygen molecules that are just floating around in the cytoplasm, waiting to dangerous things. Kind of scary, isn't it? But on the flip side, if you don't have oxygen, you do not make enough ATP. Is everybody clear on that? Has anybody here ever had a really big workout, and maybe you run, you pump some iron, and the next day, how do you feel?
Hurts.
A little sore? Got the burn going on? Y'all ever heard of a lactic acid buildup? What happens when you are undergoing an intense workout? You need ATP and you need it now. You need it in massive, massive quantities. Think about what happens when you work out. What happens to your heart rate? Does it go up or go down? It goes up because it's pumping that blood faster to get that oxygen to those cells, isn't it? What happens to your rate of breathing? It also goes up because you're inhaling oxygen as fast as you can get in. And it's not fast enough. So your body switches over to the backup system, which is called fermentation, lactate fermentation. It does not require oxygen to make ATP. It does not require oxygen to make ATP. However, it is much, much less efficient than cellular respiration. And the lactate that builds up gets metabolized to lactic acid, which essentially is a toxin. And it builds up in the muscles and we have to flush it out. It's one of the reasons they always tell you to hydrate, right? Keep your water levels up, flush that stuff out. What do you got, about half a page, 3/4 of a page? I think that's enough for cellular respiration, don't you? One thing I want you to understand, anything that blocks this process will kill you. The backup system is just that, it is a backup. When you are moving at peak levels, you can kick on the backup to get a little extra kick, but it is not sufficient to produce enough ATP for you to survive without it. Right, baby? There have been some rare instances where people have fallen through ice, been underwater for like 30 minutes, and they managed to come out alive. The only reason for that is because the low temperature slows down their metabolic rate considerably. So generally, the rule is about 3 minutes without oxygen is enough to kill you. I told you I had flatlined for 2 minutes, so that tells you how close I was pushing it. That was literally a minute from never being here again. 0 5 stars, do not recommend. Bad experience. Sticks with me. So does everybody understand what energy source means? What is it? ATP. Where is it made in the cell? Mitochondria. What do we need to get ATP? Oxygen. Is that sufficient? I don't really think we need to belabor this point. Y'all can tell I love biochemistry. I found out very early in my career that is not a normal thing. My students do not like biochemistry. So whenever I teach class, I try my very best to make sure we get the appropriate level, which you now have, but not go into detail. I want to make sure though that everybody has those 3 things down. You have to have ATP. You have to have oxygen for ATP. All this happens where? Mitochondria. So if I ask you what the function of mitochondria is, you're not going to say it's the powerhouse of the cell. You're going to say it's to produce ATP. And literally, everything about our bodies goes back to homeostasis. You remember that internal? And that includes eating, it includes breathing, it includes your heart rate, it includes what you eat, how much you eat. There's a reason why we like chocolate. Did you know it stimulates the reward center in the brain? It actually gives you pleasure to eat sweet things. There's a reason for that. And it's homeostasis because out in the wild, if you find a nice juicy apple, you found yourself a prime energy source, haven't you? And you're rewarded to consume that energy source. So is everybody clear on all of this? All right, let me make sure I'm not skipping something important here. Protein synthesis and gene expression. Your DNA is nothing more than a blueprint for proteins. The DNA is just a master plan. We keep it in the nucleus. It stores energy. We've talked about how well it stores it, right? can find out things years and years and years later. Just this morning, I was reading an interesting article. A 16-year-old murdered his parents in 1958, was given a life sentence, escaped in 1967, and was never heard from again. He died in Australia in 2010, and this year his children did one of those DNA ancestry things and found out their father was an escaped murderer. How's that for fun? DNA lasts, it stores its blueprint, and that's a good thing, because if you need a protein, you wanna make it correctly, don't you? If I was teaching a shop class, and I gave you all an assignment to make a birdhouse, and since we're on campus a couple times a week, we have access to the shop, but you're still going to need the plans, aren't you? So let's say I have one master copy of the plans and I put it on reserve for a regular representative. That's what DNA is. Does everybody understand that? Let's say I have really, really put it out nice. I have had it professionally done, calligraphy, I'm using expensive paper, I've got it in a leather bound volume. Is that something I'm gonna want you to take to the shop? Asia has some kind of beverage. She wants to sabotage you, so she dumps it all over the master copy. That would be a bad thing, wouldn't it? This is why DNA serves only as a blueprint. It is just a storage copy. Does everybody see that? If you make your own copy of the blueprint using the photocopier over there, you're not gonna worry about somebody spill something on it, are you? You can go right back over there and make another copy, can't you? Everybody see how that goes? The copy is RNA. Are you gonna want to keep that copy for 38 years? Taylor's like, no. Why are we going with this? Because that's how long I've been doing this job. Quite a long time, right? It's not going to stand the wear and tear of 38 years of teaching Bio 1 or anatomy of physics. Can you imagine if the only copy I gave you was my original photocopy? You think it's going to be creased? Think it's gonna be a little crumbled? Might even be torn, lost a corner or two, right? Probably spilled my own coffee on it, not one time, but two or three, right? But it's like, yeah, here, let's. You see where I'm going with this? For a working copy, it's sufficient. It is not an archived permanent storage copy. Furthermore, if that was the only copy I had, and we've got 20 people in this class, are all of you gonna be able to get your own copy and make your birdhouse? I won't have to worry about anybody being late then, will I? People are gonna get there and make sure they have access to that one copy. Well, here's the thing. If I let you go over there in 30 minutes, you could easily photocopy that thing 20 times, and everybody gets their own copy, don't they? So if you need to scale up production of the protein, you just make more copies. Does everyone see that? Once you have that copy, the working copy, you have to be able to make the birdhouse, don't you? What are you gonna need to make that birdhouse?
Materials?
Materials, there you go. You're gonna need some lumber, aren't you? You're gonna need a hammer and some nails, or maybe a screwdriver and some wood screws. What else are you gonna need? A saw? Probably. You're probably gonna need something to measure the wood, aren't you? See where I'm going with this? But if I give you a variety of materials. Do you think I will get 20 identical birdhouses? Some of y'all may have never used a saw in your life, right? Some of you may have woodworking as a hobby. Some of you are artistic, I've seen your drawings. I am not. Be grateful you haven't seen mine. I can't even use stick figures. There's enough variation in the manufacturing process that we would have 20 different birdhouses, wouldn't we? I like UT, so I'd paint mine orange. You like UK, so you paint yours blue. Kylie says, all natural, baby. Brother says, I'm gonna put stain on mine, make it up cheap pine, and trick people to think it's fluffy, right? Bottom line, there are different levels built into the expression of the gene. When I talk about gene expression, or what I mean is the process of making a protein from DNA.
Can you say that again?
The process of making a protein from DNA. And this all ties back to when we were talking about mutations, we were talking about birth defects, we were talking about cancer, right? Because at the end of the day, what it means is you have to make the right protein in the right amounts at the right time. You have to make the right protein in the right amounts in the right place at the right time. We talked about thalidomide, didn't we? Those children had something that interfered, not with the DNA. The DNA was fine, but between DNA and protein, something doesn't go right. The end, you don't get the protein, you don't get enough of it, you get it too early, you get it too late, you get it in a form that doesn't quite work right. Your birdhouse looks like Charlie Brown built it. Y'all have seen the Charlie Brown, right? Please tell me at least you all still watch Charlie Brown. He can never make anything right. It's always lumpy, broken, misshapen. If you make your birdhouse wrong, you're not gonna be able to get a bird in there, are you? This whole process is called gene expression. And I'm gonna draw this for you. If I ask you to tell me what gene expression is, or I ask you to describe the process, if you draw it the way I'm about to put it up there, that will be sufficient. Does that sound okay? You don't have to write a long screed. We start with DNA. This goes through a process called transcription. And this is just like standing at the photocopier making copies, right? DNA, super stable. RNA, very unstable, but it does so many things. Then, the RNA is used to go through a process called a translation to make a peptide. Now that peptide may be the end product, something like insulin. It's only about 120 amino acids long. You make tons of it every day. You break it down pretty easily. You're done. You don't need a lot of it, right? But something like hemoglobin is a protein that's made up of 4 different subunits from 2 different genes. You've got alpha globin and beta globin, and you have to combine them. So we're just going to call all that processing, folding, and assembly. And we're done. That's gene expression. Any thoughts, gripes, complaints, comments, cogitations, observations, ruminations, or insinuations? Yes, I've said that multiple times in my career. It started out like when I taught at a four-year college. Four-year college was not a big department. I had to teach a lot of different courses. So I had a lot of students for 4 years. By the seventh or eighth course, they had every one of my jokes memorized. They knew all of my stories better than I did. You get an idea? So they decided they would do a poll and see what my favorite words were. One kid kept a running tally of how many times I said a specific word in the lecture. I was just like, that's weird. Yeah, science majors. Apparently my favorite words that year were AK-47 because I apparently used that a lot in analogies, and mudball. Apparently totally heard the mudball. I'm trying to mix it up. You all look so thrilled to be here this morning. Did I ever tell you about the time I had a late lecture on a Friday afternoon?
Yeah.
Do I need to go get chocolate covered with rest of these? Chapter 5, bring them on. Okay, so any questions? Believe it or not, that's pretty much it for chapter 4. I want you to remember to study the vocabulary terms at the beginning of each chapter. So chapter 1, 2, 3, and down 4. You will be responsible for those. People have asked me what type of test I typically give. I try my best to give you 10 questions on short answer/essay format. That does not mean you have to write an essay to answer the question. If I ask you to describe the process of protein or of gene expression, and you drew that diagram there, do you think I could describe it? Absolutely, because you have described the process fully. You named every step, didn't you? Transcription, translation. You put on there that it goes to peptides. Sometimes you're done, sometimes you have to go all the way through the others. That's fine. Don't ever panic about it, okay? I'm not gonna be grading it to make sure it's a grammatically correct essay in MLA format or any of the other stuff. I don't count out for spelling, as long as it's reasonably close, okay? If you spell catabolism with a K, you'll probably be credit for it. If you spell catabolism as anabolism, you probably won't. Okay, is everybody clear on that? So while we're going through this, since y'all have never taken a test like that before, I'll try to give you an idea of sample questions. How's that sound? So far, would y'all have a little mini review / catch up right now? We're a little ahead. Okay, so make sure, number one, that you know characteristics of life. Characteristics of life. We talked about that, didn't we? Ability to respond to the environment, reproduce, acquire and use energy from the environment. Make sure you can list and describe the 3 types of chemical bonds. Covalent sharing electrons, ionic electron to transfer, hydrogen, temporary and weak. Know which is the strongest covalent, which is the weakest hydrogen. Well, I'm at your test review, and suddenly I've got everybody's attention for a change. It's okay. I can tell that a lot of you have never had a test like this, am I right? How many have never taken a short answer essay test? Raise your hand, please. So most of you have. How many of you have not? Hands up where I can see them. Okay. Bottom line, it gives you a lot of flexibility in how you answer it, doesn't it? I don't grade very hard. I grade to make sure you understand concepts, okay? I tell you that because I don't like multiple choice. Multiple choice basically becomes a guessing game and or me trying to trick you. The only trick I will ever play on you is when we're balancing chemical equations. I promise you, I will give you something from the last column. You all remember that? The inert gases that never react. All you have to do is write no reaction. So if you see anything in the helium column, I even had one guy use an expletive as his answer. Believe it or not, I gave him credit. Did have a conversation with him about professionalism, but he did get the answer right. So everybody clear? Yes, ma'am.
You said the characteristics of what?
Life.
Okay.
Know the properties of water that make it so necessary to humans. High specific heat, good solvent, good for transportation. There is always a vocab section, generally between 5 and 10 terms that you have to define, or I give you the definition and you have to write the term. Those almost always come from the little list that I gave you at the beginning of each chapter, but I also told you to remember section 1.8, y'all remember that? Those 13 terms. And there's some things that we talk about during lecture that may or may not be listed in the textbook, but you need to know, like the difference between a solution, a solvent, and a solute. A solution is the solute dissolved into the solvent, right? Not hard stuff, but as you are going through your career, you're needing to build your vocabulary because you're going to have to learn to speak the language of your trade. Yes, I do it without looking at my notes. Yes, I get excited about it. I get a little fast. I've been doing this a long time. Some are going, yeah, and it shows. That's okay. No process of gene expression. Know what metabolism is. 2 different branches. Metabolism and anabolism. Know the 4 different types of stem cells: totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, unipotent. Totipotent become anything, pluripotent become any cell type, any tissue type, and not any organism. Multipotent, any cell type within a tissue, unipotent becomes one cell type, right? Now what cellular differentiation is? It's specialization. What's the critical factor in that? Gene expression. You have to have the right stuff made in the right place, the right amount at the right time. Am I going too fast? No difference between a teratogen, a mutagen, and a carcinogen. Teratogen causes birth defects. Mutagen changes DNA in the germ cells and is passed on to the offspring. Carcinogen changes DNA in the somatic cells and causes cancer. What is cancer?
Wait, you can go back, the rapid growth of cells.
This is all in your notes, it's just a review.
Are you recording it?
Okay, I'm hearing like 3 different things. Who said this? Who wanted me to go back? What did you need me to go back to?
Oh, wait, are you recording it? Cause we'll just look at your YouTube.
Yes, I'm recording it.
Okay. Okay.
How many of you could pass this today? Keep in mind, I could very well drop a quiz on you on Thursday,
This Thursday?
like day after tomorrow, Thursday. Am I that evil? Or am I being the nice guy professor, warning you ahead of time, saying, we're a couple weeks into the semester now, I'm starting to get to know people, and I'm seeing some habits that are really concerning. Don't worry, I'm not gonna drop a quiz on you Thursday, okay? The test will be here before you know it. Don't wait until the last minute to learn this stuff. That's one of the reasons why I'm slowing down and taking a little time right here to catch you up on this, okay? So much of this is from the lecture, not necessarily the book. All that stuff about stem cells, all the stuff about cancer, all the stuff about strategies, especially in the humans. Okay? I know it's a lot. How many of you feel a little overwhelmed at this point? Okay. How many of you feel like you know how to adequately study for this class? 2 or 3? How many of you would like me to give you a little bit of help with some study skills? There is never, ever any shame in saying that. You all realize that? A skill is a skill. You either have it or you don't, right? Why are we here? To learn. I don't ever care what went before. If you come to me and say, I don't have this skill and I want to acquire it, I'm gonna do everything I can to help you acquire that skill. I'm not gonna judge you for not having it, I'm not gonna say you should know this. That has no place in the classroom. All that matters is I have students who want to learn, I have the ability and knowledge to teach, okay? So let's finish our review and we'll jump into chapter 5 and I'll try to take the last 10 or 15 minutes to give you some idea of how I generally study or learn a new subject and prepare. Does that sound good? So, yes, sir.
How long is the test? Like, how many questions total is it?
10.
Just 10?
Yeah. So, you already know that one of the 10 is gonna be vocab, right? You already know that one of the 10 is gonna be 5 equations that you have to balance, right? That's 20% of your test right there. How many of you would like me to post an old test so you can see? Okay. If you don't see that by Thursday morning when we start class, be sure to remind me. And don't freak out when you go to Blackboard and you see something that says sample test. Don't freak out if you don't know the answers to any of the questions, okay? As I said, it's going to be an old test. It might even be from a different class. It will almost certainly have things on there we haven't covered. It's only to give you an idea of how I ask questions, not anything else. And don't worry, I'll tell you my secret, since you guys seem unusually anxious about this. I generally give you a chance to get back half of the points you missed on the first exam if you correct your errors internally. Y'all seem quite anxious. I normally hold that up. I don't like doing it unless I have to, but I think you all need a little extra reassurance. It's okay, folks. Going from grade 12 in college is not like going to grade 13. It is a literal quantum leap. You go from having to sit in a classroom hearing the same stuff 50 minutes a day for 5 days of the week and having it essentially spoon fed to you. You get to do worksheets, you get to do fun little activities. You just keep your head down and pull out your phone and text under the desk while the teacher is chasing the kid who's trying to burn down the lab. Yeah, I know. I'm not that old. You don't have that here, do you? You got 2 75-minute lecture periods. That's it. You have assigned readings, don't you? Do I check to see if you're reading that? You're an adult. You paid to be here. If you want to read it, go read it. It takes time, I know that. Unlike high school, you gotta get yourself out of bed, don't you? You gotta get yourself here. You don't have the bus driver honking the horn on you to hurry up, pull on your hoodie, and get down the steps. You don't know if there's gonna be a wreck between 09 and here that shuts down the highway for a half hour and makes you think you're never gonna make your class. I try my best to accommodate and understand all that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, do I want to learn? Who can answer that question? Okay, enough pep talk, enough chewing out, enough combined pep talk chewing out. Yeah, I'm not very good at it, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not. When I was learning to walk again, my therapist basically told me, he said, if you wanna do this, you're the one that has to do it. It's gonna hurt, it's gonna take you a long time, you're not gonna like me very much, but you'll walk. And he was right on all those. It hurt. It took 10 months, and I still don't like him very much. I told him PT didn't stand for physical therapist, it stood for pain and torture. And if he ever needed a letter of recommendation for a job as an interrogator at Guantanamo Bay, I would be happy to write him one. Because he was very effective. By the time he was through with me, I'd have told him anything he wanted to know. I probably told him a bunch of stuff he didn't want to know. I mean, one time he just said, shut up, I don't need to hear this. Okay, so y'all with me now? No 4 different types of stem cells. Know the difference between mutagen, teratogen, carcinogen. Know the 4 different stages of cancer. Know the definition of cancer, which is unrestricted cell division or uncontrolled cell division. If you put uncontrolled cell growth, do you think I'm gonna give you credit? Absolutely. Because you're showing me you got the idea. How many of y'all would like it if I put a couple of extra questions on there and let you answer like 10 out of 12? That way you pick Tuesday. I don't know that. That'll be just one of 2 burn. I'll try to do that for you then. We all are lucky. Coffee's a good dude. My mouth is writing checks. My professional ability can't cash. Don't have to. And I think that pretty much is everything we covered today, isn't it? It's not as much as you thought, is it? The review was probably what, half a page, 3/4 of a page? If you go home tonight and you look through that, you read over that half-page review one single time and put it away, you will retain more than you will have gotten by being here listening to me talk. If you read over it again 30 minutes later, you'll double what you retain. That's what studying is. It isn't sitting down here memorizing everything. It's maintaining familiarity with the material. Now, do you think I looked at the textbook before I came into the lecture today? How many of you think I did? I did. Does that surprise you? Yes, I know it very well. I've been doing this a very, very long time. But even so, I still review it before I come to lecture. One of the reasons I'm able to lecture the way I do is because this is not the first time I've given this lecture. Did you know that? And I'm gonna talk about it in the past. Did y'all realize I actually practiced this? Seriously. I used to do it in front of the mirror. I don't anymore because I don't like the ballet front there. I'm awkward enough that I still like catching. There's a reason the video only shows the ceiling and not me. But joking aside, I actually practice it, the pacing, the timing, even some of the stupid anecdotes and jokes I tell you, and the next built in. That four-year group I was telling you about, the ones that logged my favorite words, one of them actually timed me on when I either said a joke or told an amusing anecdote, as she put it. She said, Dr. Smith, did you realize every 10 minutes you share a joke or say something? I said, 10? I try to do it every 12, believe it or not. So here's how I recommend you study. Let's just take the next 20 and talk about this. That sound good? All right, so Thursday, we're gonna cover chapter 5. You know we're gonna cover chapter 5. I'm telling you up front, I'll do chapter 5. I'll expect you to have read that. That's a lot of pages. How many other classes do you get, Callie?
3.
You got 3 other classes. How many hours a week do you work typically?
I work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, so right there, 3 days, you're not gonna have a lot of time for anything but work. It takes time to get from A to B, doesn't it? We all got some kind of chore we have to do, don't we? And if you still live at home, with mom and dad, I'm sure you gotta wash dishes or wash your clothes or something. That takes time away, doesn't it? So, the point I'm making is your time is the most valuable resource you have. What you want to do is achieve as much as you can with it. I don't expect you to sit down and read every single page. What I do expect is that you have sat down, gobbled it up, and you have looked at the table of contents. So you know that chapter 5 is gonna be over what? Issues. Somebody looked. I was expecting y'all to not know. You know already from lab, because you had to look, some things, haven't you? There are 4 types of tissues, aren't there? Epithelial, muscle, nervous, what's the last one? Connective. You mean you've learned something? You may not yet know all of the different subtypes, that's okay. But when I lecture on Thursday and I start talking about epithelial tissue, you're gonna know that it lines the organs and it lines the outside of the body, right? Epithelium, epi means out, doesn't it? Because you're building that knowledge base. You see where I'm going with this? You are going to look at the subheadings of each heading within the chapter, aren't you? They're divided up into sections. Skim that. Ask yourself, do I know the 4 different types of tissue? If you don't, I suggest you learn them. Because once you've learned them, they're there, folks. You don't have to study them again. It's just a review at that point, isn't it? You're building it. You're not trying to wait until the night before and crank it. Do you have a question? Okay. This helping? Look at terms that are in boldface. Look at anything that has italics. Look at the diagram. Are there nice, pretty pictures? Dr. Smith is not a visual person. He does not like pretty pictures. But if you want me, as we go through the lecture, to tell you, look on page 67 and figure 3.2, I will be glad to do that. Would you like me to start doing that? Okay. If I do that, y'all will read it, won't you? And in the time I've been talking, we've gone through 2 sections already. Because you're not reading every single word. gonna see there are two main types. They're simple, and then there's layered. How many layers do you think simple has? Huh? What? I thought you said you hadn't read this. You're starting to sound suspiciously like you've learned a thing or two. Keep that up, get me in trouble. Layers, how many do you think there are? Huh? More than one. Three's fine because you're getting an idea, aren't you? It's building things. Squamous, you probably don't know what that word means. That's okay. I know it because I'm a nerd, I have no life. I actually read stuff like this for fun. It means flat. So what do you think it's gonna look like? Flat? I love saying cuboidal. Just because I sound like a New Yorker. I had this one friend in New York, he always dunked on me for the way I say oil. So I started saying, oil, oil, like oil. Okay, now I've made you laugh, yes. But there's a hook there, you're engaged, aren't you? You're paying attention, almost like I did it deliberately. Cuboidal, what do you think that it's gonna look like? You're knocking it out of the park. Cube, maybe?
That makes sense.
Huh? If you're a teacher, you live for what you call the light bulb moment. You see the look in your student's eyes when the light goes on, you forget it. The problem is, in some cases, it's a 15-watt bulb. And y'all know those old incandescent bulbs that kind of go bzz, bzz, come on dimly. You wonder if I've insulted you? Why not? It's gonna look like a cube, isn't it? Columnar, column, what do you think it's gonna look like? Striated, you already learned that means what? Strapped, banded, it's gonna look like that. You get an idea? Connective tissue, what is the function of connective tissue gonna be? Somebody speak up, I'm deaf. Not that you, Kyle, yeah. Connecting, holding things together, bringing things together. There's bone and connective tissue. Bone, is it a connective tissue?
Yes.
Yes. What about blood?
Yes.
Yes, because it connects the body, doesn't it? Now, you're gonna immediately see that is going to be a very detailed one, isn't it? So instead of worrying about it right now, we're gonna put an asterisk to it in the little outline we're making, because we're gonna need to look at that more, or we're gonna have to wait until the lecture. You see where I'm going? Nervous tissue. The nervous tissue is very simple, right? All it does is send and receive signals. Muscle tissue. Muscle tissue exists for one purpose, that's to exert force, right? Now, you see there are three subtypes. You've already counted them in lab, haven't you? Smooth, involuntary, that means you don't control it. It's not very strong. You don't need a lot of protein, do you? Striated or skeletal muscle or voluntary muscle, that's the one that has the stripes and the bands in it, isn't it? That's because it's got a lot of protein, because it exerts a lot of force. What's the strongest muscle in the body? Heart. So it looks a lot like that striated muscle, doesn't it? Because it needs to be strong. But, do you control your heartbeat? So that's a special case. You've learned the tissues right there. Connective, you're still not quite sure of that. But when you walk in Thursday and I say, okay, are there any questions? You're gonna put up your hand and say, I didn't really understand this connective tissue thing. And I'll say, okay, wait until the lecture, we'll walk through it. If you don't get it, ask a question. if you do a little bit of digging, because you did an extra hour of break on work that you didn't expect, yeah, you can pull out your phone, you can, well, I started to say cruise Instagram, but you don't use it anymore. TikTok, is that it? Snapchat? It's okay to do that once in a while, I won't lie, I do it myself on occasion. The thing is though, I don't do it hours on end every day. If I get a break and I need to recharge, yeah, I'll watch some brainless video cats, I know everybody does that. Then I go back to what it is I'm interested in, what it is I need to make sure that I can talk about. Maybe I need to put an extra 10 minutes on connective tissue because I haven't taught it since last January and it's a little bit rusty in my brain. Which it is, believe it or not. Because I haven't looked at chapter 5 yet. Because I'm electron on Thursday, I guarantee you when Thursday comes, do you think I'm gonna be ready? Question is, are you going to be? Does this help y'all? I could give you quizzes. I could make you learn the vocabulary. I could ask you to list and describe the 4 tissue types. Have you really learned anything if I require you to do that? Does that show respect for you as a person, as a student? If no, you're still in high school, you need to be ready, you're not mature enough to set your own goals and be responsible for your own outcomes. That's not why I don't do it as I have to. So, how y'all feel about this? How many of you are gonna ask me if you need help? How many of you would like me to give you some more tips and tricks? Take this to yourself when you're reading. Even if it's just to jot down, I don't understand figure 3.14 on page 75. When you walk into class, almost all of you get here in a couple of minutes early, right? So you flip open your paper for Thursday, September 4th, and you look down and you see, oh yeah, I didn't get that diagram. So when I say at the beginning of class, like I always do, are there any questions? You throw up your hand and say, can you walk us through figure 3.14 on page 75? Then I'll get a nasty look on my face, put you down and say, no way. Of course I'm not gonna do that. What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go right to that figure and we're gonna go through it until we learn it. If you throw up your hand and say, I just could not follow a single word you said, can you do it differently? Do you think I'm gonna be offended? We learn differently. The way I put it may not jingle with you. Believe it or not, I've been a professor for years and years and years before I actually made the connection between oxygen and oxidation and this whole electron flow thing and electronegativity. How many of you can tell me what electricity is? Not what it does, but what is actually going on in the circuit. You see what I'm saying? That's not stupidity. It's because no one has ever sat you down and told you that electricity is an actual literal flow of electrons from atom to atom to atom to atom. And that's why it's a circuit, because it continues. Now you know what electricity is. Believe it or not, it was something I didn't know until about 4 years ago. See what I mean? I can't read you at all. That's both of us in my house. So how do y'all feel about it? Make a note to yourself on what you do know. That way when I'm covering that part in lecture, just check it out, because you don't have to write it down because you already know it. Notes are notes. I don't look at them, I don't see them, I don't grade you on them, I don't care. As long as they help you learn. Ironically, the best way for me to learn is not to sit in a lecture. Does that surprise you? It's not even in a lab. Best way for me to learn, I need 4 things. I need a comfortable chair. I need a Dr. Pepper. Not sugar-free, not diet, I need the real thing. Because I'm a pepper. I need a good descriptive text. That can be something off the web, it can be a textbook, but I need something that I can read and ponder my way through. And the most important thing, I do not learn without this. I learned the secret to it. Y'all wanna know what it is? 80s music. I have to have my 80s tunes in the background because it becomes background. It lets me lock out everything. Now, obviously, I'm being a little bit facetious with the last one. But you see what I mean? I'm comfortable. I've got my favorite snack. I've got the resource I need. And I will lose myself in it. Why are you here? Are you here to just get a check off on a credential? You can't sit and listen to anybody for 75 minutes. I don't care how that they are. Y'all know what the average attention span in the United States of America is today? Tell them, Jasmine. 10 seconds. 10 minutes.
10 minutes? That's what I meant.
It's technically 8, 12, but it happens to 10. That's one of the reasons I throw some of these stupid stories in. It's not because I'm up here as a comedy artist. It's because I don't care how focused you are, your attention starts to go through. I've seen a couple of them check their phone while I'm lecturing. I don't get offended. If I could, I'd check my own phone while I'm lecturing. There's a timer free, I kind of zone out while I'm talking. Wait, did I talk about that? What were we on? That's next to me. But what I don't want you to do is do that all the time. If you find yourself doing that, come talk to me and say, I'm having trouble focusing, I'm having trouble paying attention. I may not have a solution for you. Do you think there are people who have better training and more experience than I have in this college that may have a solution for you? And if you end up needing some kind of accommodation, doesn't mean anything. You all know that I can't see without my glasses, right? It's no big deal, is it? You've not seen me need my cane yet, but I know you see me a little stiff or have a little, it's just folks that age, folks. You may be one of those people that just doesn't learn by reading, you need something different. You may have something as simple as sitting in front of the classroom helps you. There's not a thing wrong with figuring that stuff out, okay? We're out of time. See you later. I hope this is not wasted. I'm actually here. And I'll make sure I record. You're welcome.